Hello everybody, it's Ronnie with Whip and Chain. I work with Maggie and Lauren to bring you beautiful crochet tutorials. Today is a request. When I put a question up on our Facebook page, seeing what people wanted to see, one of the suggestions was a hooded scarf with pockets. So that's exactly what I did. Look at this. This is beautiful. It is using chunky yarn. So you do need the chunky yarn to achieve the same counts that I had. If you choose to use an acrylic, you don't need longer, you don't need certain lengths, which I have in this video. But it turned out beautiful. I did very deep, nice pockets on it. And like I said, this was a request, so we're going to dive right into it. Okay, let's dive right into this. I want you guys to see what yarn I'm using. I honestly don't know if it's still available, but I'm addicted to this. I like anniversary yarn. They only make it for a certain period of time and then they stop it. But this is a very thick yarn, super bulky, number 6. The recommended hook is an 8mm, but for this hooded scarf with pockets, I'm using a 10. My clover hooks. You guys know I love them. So, and when I dive right into this, this is not a hard pattern. This is extremely beginner friendly, which is one of the reasons I picked it. So the first thing first, need you to make a chain of 25, just a chain, nothing fancy. So I'll meet you at the end of chain 25. Okay, here's my chain 25. Sometimes working with this yarn can be a little harder, deceiving. Sometimes people think the thicker it is, the easier it is. So second chain from the hook, we're going to do half double crochets all the way down except in the last stitch. So I just want you to half double crochet, and if you remember, half double crochet is just wrapping the yarn, going in your stitch, bringing it up, wrap, and go through all 3 loops. So we're just on a half double every stitch but the very last. So since we started with 25, we skipped the first stitch, should have 24. Now in your very last stitch, I want you to put in 6 single crochets in the very last stitch. So it's 1, 2, 3, and 6. Now this opening does gap up, but you can, after you put your 6 in, just pull it shut. Now you're going to do 24 stitches going up on the other side of this. This is, I would say, probably the hardest part. You do not go in to this first stitch where you put in the 6. You go into these gaps right here. Last one. Okay. Now, we are not going to keep working in a circle. What you're going to actually do, that's just the tail, has to be turned off because I crocheted over it. So now, all you have to do is chain 1, turn, and you're going to go back up this chain that you just came down, and in every stitch, in the back loops only, you're going to put half double crochets. Just half doubles. And then when you get up in here, you're not adding any stitches, just half double. So you half double around to this side, chain 1, turn your work and go back and around. So you're going around this way. By doing that, you're making your hood. And I need you to do that approximately like 14 times. And when you do that, this is your hood. I think I like this side out. This is your hood. Now when you measure the vertical, it should range about 12 inches. Horizontal, you make it as long as you want. You can make it 10 inches, 12 inches, 11 inches. Mine particularly is 11. Okay. And then once you finish your rows, you just tie off. Okay. And then our next step. Now this is going to determine the length that you need your scarf. If you're, say, 5 foot or shorter, I'd probably recommend 55 chain before you go on here. If you're like 5 foot to maybe 5'7" ish, then you do 65. If you're taller, then you do 75. But if you just plain like a longer scarf, do the 75. But I'm going to show you a small sample of what you do. You start with your slip knot, and you first do your chain, 55, 65, 75, or actually any number that you want. There's no multiples that you have to do. So let's say I'm going to chain, I think for me, because I'm going to do the pockets, I will chain 65. But now make sure you know the right side of your hat, and you need to know where the bottom is. So after you chain your 55, 65, or 75, remember I just did a small chain. What you do is, I'm going to take my stitch markers out. All you do is you go into these stitches here and do a smooth row of half double crochets just straight across. First one getting started is always the hardest, but then you just go across the row, like maybe 1 stitch per row, but take your time because you do not want this buckling. All right, so you just single crochet all the way across your entire hat. And then when you get on over on your last stitch, then you do the same chain that you did in the beginning. So if you chain 65, you're going to do 65 here. Okay. And then you're just going to turn and go back and forth like you did on this back loop, only half double crochets. And I would recommend either 8 or 9 rows. But get to the thickness that you want. So again, let's recap, because this is very, very simple. You do your chain of 55, 65, or 75, or any amount that you want. Then you slip on here. Then you half double crochet all the way across. And then you do the same chain amount that you did before you stitched onto this. So if you did 65 here, you chain 65 here. And then you're going to do half doubles back and forth and back and forth, back loop only, just like you did on this, back loop only. And I'm suggesting like 9 rows. I think that's probably what I would pick to feel comfortable. But if you want to make it thicker, by all means you can. There's no wrong for this pattern. I picked this pattern because it's simple, and it's a good step in the right direction of learning how to make hooded scarves. And these are so, once you understand the pattern, they go so quickly. So if you want to make these for the homeless or handing them out, you can do that with these. So after I get all my rows of my scarf done, scarf part, then we're going to come back and we're going to do the pockets. Okay, so now we got the hood done, and we did the actual scarf part. I like my hood being extra wide because then it can droop a little bit over the top of my head, if that makes sense. Anyway, I love the way these colors turned out. I love the color changing yarn sometimes. Just got to be in the mood for it. One thing I do want to note, if you're using, unfortunately I found this out the hard way when I was trying to finish up this part of the video last night, the Karen Anniversary yarn. I love them. I buy them to my heart's full every year when they come out. I look forward to them coming out. I look forward to everything about them, even though I'm a Hobby Lobby girl. Anyway, found out something about them that I don't like last night. They get knotted, and when they get knotted, because they're ginormous skeins, the knots are crazy bad. I spent almost 2.5 maybe hours unknotting it, and I ended up wrapping it in a ball, which I don't like doing this because it stretches the yarn, but this gave me zero choice, zero. So I will recommend in the future, if you're using the anniversary yarns, I wouldn't center pull because I'm a center pull kind of person usually. I would go from the outside in, but do what's right for you. But let me tell you, they're expensive. If you catch them not on sale, they're between $35 and $40. So that's a lot of yarn, and I'm not willing to waste my yarn, especially with all the projects that I do on here for you guys that I absolutely love doing. So just, you know, just a little announcement that if you don't use that yarn, either pre-spin it if you have the bigger ones, or just be careful on how you use it because it knots horribly bad. Like not a little bit, knots bad. So anyway, so let's get back into this wonderful project. So now I got my scarf done. I got some stitch markers because we're going to need them. So now make sure you're on the outside when you're doing your pockets. You don't want it on the wrong side. So now what I did is, you can make these pockets, there's no rule. You can make these pockets real big, real small, but it also depends on, see, there's my nail that I broke all the way back. So sorry, I know it's not pretty, but anyway, I am going to personally do 10 inches. I think I like the idea of 10 inches. So I'm going to fold it. It's about 10. And then I'm going to take a stitch marker and make sure you're marking the corners. Make sure you're not marking the wrong spot on these. And then 10. And after you mark them, tug at it, straighten it out, make sure it's even. These will be a pain to undo if you mess up. And then what I like to do is I like to mark approximately center on each side. I know some people don't believe in the stitch markers and they don't use them, but they're so much more than stitch markers for me. They hold my projects the way I need them held. I love them. All right, so that's one side. And now here's the other side. So we're going to do the same thing on this side. Now for mine, I chose the 75 stitches on each side because I like long. I'm vertically challenged. I am 5'3", and that's being very generous. I'm probably 5'2" and change. But I'll stick to the 5'3". Okay. If anybody's interested to where I got my little packet of stitch markers, let me know and I will supply the link at the bottom for you. And that's why I remeasure. And then again, about the middle. Just so it don't get hung up. Now with half doubles, when you're looking at your stitches, you're going to see that sidebar. Make sure you're not thinking this is the stitch. Make sure you go to the top. So there is my pockets. So now I'm grabbing my yarn. This is the left of the ball that I started with, and that, just for the record, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I ended up doing 10 rows, not counting the foundation chain. All right. So all you have to do is pick a side where you want to start. All right. So you want to put your hook in and make sure you're seaming that very end. You want to go through both sides of it. Notice I'm not making a loop. Going through, chain 1, go back through that same spot, and I'm holding my tail because I'm going to weave it right in with me. Just single crochets all the way up, and I'm going to single crochet around the whole project just to give it that really nice edging. So when you're going around the whole project, you will be going over the hood and all, okay? Take your time, especially on the pocket area, because you don't want gaps in your stitching. Okay. All right, so you're done a single crochet. It's just going to take you around the whole entire project, and then you will land back here. And I'll see you at the end of that. Okay, here she is, all completed. The hood, and then if we go down, you've got the pockets. Very easy project. This project can go very fast as long as you don't have your yarn knotted like I did, but it works out beautiful. The chunky yarn is just an added bonus, but there she is, all finished. I hope you enjoyed this project, and I can't wait to see and talk to you about the next one. Happy crocheting, everybody, and Maggie, Lauren, and myself say thank you for all the love that you're showing us. And please join us on Facebook under WIP for Work in Progress and Chain. And can you hit that like and subscribe button below? We'd greatly appreciate it. Happy crocheting.